Hiya BookTube, Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Come to you with another tag. I told you I was going to do all these tags this morning, and so this is going to be take 2 on the favorite authors tag, but this is going to be the nonfiction version. So I decided to do this in 2 different videos. I hope that's okay with the original video creator Nicole Rojas, and I'll leave her link to her channel down in to the video down in the description. I hope that's all right with her, but I split it into 2 videos, one for fiction, one for nonfiction. And so this time I'm going to do the nonfiction. So favorite authors tag. Here's your first question. Who's your favorite author? And when I did the fiction tag, I struggled with it in finding just one. So I'm going to do the same thing I did there. I'm going to actually pick 3 authors, and I'm going to do it from, I split it up like this, that I love reading about the Revolution. I love reading about the Civil War, but then there's also, you think about those authors that cover a big time frame. And so I'm going to go with 3 different authors, one for Revolution, one for Civil War, and one for like overall. So for the Revolution, I really like Joseph Ellis. I think he tells a very, very good story. His books are not gigantic, so you can, they're 200 to 300 pages, and you can get them done in a fairly quick amount of time, and they're very scholarly. I enjoy his reading. He's got a fast-paced story. I enjoy, for the Civil War, I love reading James Mcpherson. I think he tells an excellent story as well. And he has, well, I'm getting into another question, so I'm going to pause there. That's my author for that. And then for just the overall, any era, I love H.W. Brands. He is a magnificent author, magnificent storyteller. He's just, I love his work. And then a 4th one, but I'm not going to go into, just because of time, Nathaniel Philbrick. I also love his stories. But anyway, question number 2, when or how did you discover this author? So Joseph Ellis, I discovered, I can't even remember for sure which book I bought first. I want to say actually the first book I bought was his one on Jefferson, the Sphinx. And it was not the first one I read, though. I ended up buying the one on George Washington, His Excellency George Washington. And how I discovered him, I'm trying to remember how I discovered him. It was probably through just an Amazon search, is my guess. I don't really remember how I found him. James Macpherson, I found him with his Civil War book that won the Pulitzer Prize, and I was looking for books on the Civil War because I was teaching that as a new teacher in middle school. That was a new subject for me because I had been teaching high school, so we didn't cover that in the high school class that I taught. So I was looking for a 1-volume history of the Civil War to help me learn more about it, and so I found him on another Amazon search, really. And then H.W. Brands, how did I find him? I found him. See, I'm struggling to remember which books. That would help me remember how I found him. Which books that I read first, and I want to say his book on Benjamin Franklin was probably my first book I read by him, and it was awesome. And that would have been through an Amazon search. So all of them were through just Amazon searches on different subjects. And then I kind of linked it in with, I always read or try to go back and read just a little bit about the author, even if it's just like a Wikipedia page just to give you background. Sometimes that's how I discover them. I've also discovered some of these guys. Maybe I should go more in depth on that. On each of these authors, I have went online and I have listened to like YouTube videos of them talking at different functions, whether it's a book signing or to a college or like to like a roundtable type discussion. I've listened to all 3 of these guys do talks on that, and I've absolutely loved them. And so that was if I'm actually discovering the author, so not just buying their book, but actually learning more about the author and their background and what they do as a author, that's probably a better answer for you, because I've watched several videos by all three guys. Number 3, was it instant love, or did it take time for you to fall in love with his or her books? All three of them were instant loves. Absolutely loved their books. They're just, all three of these guys are excellent storytellers. You know, you read some academic or scholarly works and you can get bogged down in details, because some of the smartest people can't tell a story to save their lives. They know the facts, they know their information, but they're boring. And I've had like college professors that are like that, and they talk like this, and it is so boring. And you know, certain authors are a lot like that. You read it and you get like 3 pages in, you're like, yeah, I can't read this. All three of these authors, very, very fast-paced stories, and they're entertaining. So I would say that they write to the mass market. However, it is done on an academic level. They are very good storytellers. They know their stuff, and they know what's interesting. And I thoroughly enjoy that about all three of these authors. So it was instant love for me. Next question. Which is your favorite book from this author? Okay, so again, I pretty much already told you this. Joseph Ellis, I love. His Excellency George Washington. I've liked all of his books, but that's probably my favorite. And he also did one that was short stories, and I'm trying to remember the founders. What was it? Oh goodness, now I'm going blank. But it was short stories on different events. It's like 25 pages on different events in American history. So like one was the dinner party, which was when Mcpherson invited him over to solve some big issues in early American history. They did one with one of the stories in that book was Ben Franklin when he went into the Congress and said we need to get rid of slavery, and that was towards the end of his life. And so it was a lot of short stories like that, and I am so blank on the name of that book. I apologize, but I like that one as well. James Mcpherson is Battle Cry for Freedom, hands down. Awesome, awesome book. Again, I like all of his books. He also did the Second American Revolution. He did a biography on Lincoln. He's got several that I like, but Battle Cry for Freedom is by far my favorite. And then H.W. Brands, he's got several books that I really love and enjoy, but probably the Ben Franklin biography is my favorite. I love the Teddy Roosevelt one. He's got a great one on The Age of Gold was a really good book, and so he's got several, but Ben Franklin's probably at the top for me. I thought that was his opening chapter was in the cockpit when Ben Franklin is there getting roasted by Alexander Wedderburn, and that was the point where he becomes the first American, which is the name of the title of the book, and that was kind of his epilogue and his introduction. And I absolutely loved it. It hooked me right off the get-go. And I actually used that chapter in my American history class, and the kids usually like that too. So next question on the tag here is, which is your least favorite book from this author? I have got to be honest, I have not read a book by any of these three authors that I didn't like. I don't know if I have a least favorite. Sorry. I've liked them all. How many books have you read from these authors? Again, just like on the fiction one, I did not do a count. The girls are asleep. I'd have to go upstairs and count. And sorry. I've read most of Joseph Ellis's books. Not all of them, but most of them. I've read, I bet 5 of Mcpherson's books, and H.W. Brands, I've read 6 or 7 of those, and yeah, that would be a guess on the numbers. Next question, what best describes this author? I've already kind of covered this question, but Joseph Ellis is, if you listen to him talk, again, he writes about the founding fathers. That's the era he writes about. Writes a fast-paced story, and if you get to listening to him, he's quite funny. He's very cynical and kind of a smart aleck at times, and tells some halfway off color jokes as he's telling his stuff, and he gets me laughing. And his favorite one is when he's at book talks and or book signings, and he says, "Yeah, make sure you go out and buy that book. I got to put my kid through college," and that always makes me chuckle. But his stories, he finds those stories about the founders that have not been in the popular histories in the years past. He brings out the you know how we used to put the founding fathers up on a pedestal. He brings out those things that bring them down to, you know, actual human beings, and I enjoy that part. I'm not saying we have to trash our founders. That's not what I mean, but just the human side of them. I really like that. James Mcpherson is he does a lot with like Gettysburg and stuff, a lot of the Civil War stuff, especially Gettysburg, and then just the soldiers in the war. The average soldier, and I thoroughly enjoy that. I think he's a great author. He's very professional. He talks about big issues and the moral dilemmas that they faced, and I thoroughly enjoy that. And then H.W. Brands, he does a lot of talks around the nation as he's writing his books. He'll go around and do talks on his books, and I've always liked listening to how he comes up with the ideas for his books, and just the behind-the-scenes thoughts of the characters he's writing about and the historical events, and I really like that. I enjoy listening to him speak as well as reading his books, and he writes about all the eras. He's got stuff about the founders in the 1700s. He's got stuff about you know, the 1800s, and he probably has the most about stuff going on in the 1900s, but I've enjoyed all of them. He's probably, and H.W. Brands might be, of the three, although all three of them are awesome storytellers, he might be the best storyteller of all three of them. And I love listening to all of them talk live, or not live, but in video. So what genre does this author write? All three of them are nonfiction. Joseph Ellis, like I said, writes on the American Revolution era, the founding era. Mcpherson writes primarily about the Civil War, and H.W. Brands is a little bit of everything. He had an idea. He talks about this in a lot of his videos on how he wanted to write a big history of the United States, a whole series, and the publishers told him, yeah, you can't do that. Nobody's going to buy it. And so he got around it by writing biographies one biography about a key guy from the founding era that ties in the 1700s, and then he did another one about about Andrew Jackson, that kind of picks up when one dies, it picks up the era after that, and then he did one about who else did he do one about? I'm going blank here, but anyway, he did that in successive eras, and yeah, so he writes about the whole spectrum of American history. Next question is, why do you love this author? Great storytellers, fast-paced history. It's academic but entertaining at the same time. That's really what I love about their stuff. And they get to the nitty-gritty, especially James Mcpherson. He hits some big topics, but they all do that. So who do you tag for this? Well, I am going to do a blanket tag where just anybody watching this, consider yourself tagged. I'd like to hear all your answers. I know a lot of people have already done this one, and without searching through everybody's videos, I won't know exactly, who to pick and who not to pick. So consider yourself tagged. I hope everybody does this. I hope you enjoyed watching this BookTube. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you, all the new subscribers that have come to the channel. Hope you're enjoying this, and as always, happy reading.